All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Fred Jones with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. And just to let you know that this is not a live meeting and that this meeting is being recorded, just to let you know. So thank you for being here. You can pass it on to Pastor Mike.
Okay, good evening, everyone. If you don't mind, I'd just like to say a short prayer if I could. God, we bless you for this day and we thank you for this opportunity that we can gather together and share information about our Lake County School Board, the officers, the staff, the parents, and the children. So we just bless you and we ask you to guide all that we say and do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening once again to you all. My name is Reverend Michael J. Watkins. I am the pastor of the Friendship Christian Methodist Episcopal Church of Tavares, Florida. We are here tonight with representatives from the Lake County School Board and the Lake County Sheriff Department. One of our goals tonight is to present questions pertaining to the use of SRO officers on Lake County school campuses, state mandates for SROs, Lake County School Board policies with SRO officers, requirements and training for SRO officers, the use of force by officers, and any other questions that have been submitted. Our goal is for our parents to know and understand the various policies of the Lake County School Board and also for them to hear from the Sheriff Department the measures that they are taking to serve the schools of Lake County and for the Lake County School Board to be able to make clear their reason for the various policies that they may have. That being said, there has been incidents that have happened on our campuses that have raised concerns by parents and citizens. And while we are grateful for this platform, we want to hold the SRO officers accountable for their actions, as well as the Sheriff Department for their policing of the actions of the SRO officers and the Lake County School Board in their decisions they make after incidents that happen as is directed in their policies. Also, we want to hold the students and parents accountable for knowing and following the guidelines that affect their children. We want to respect everyone and treat everyone like we want to be treated. We want our children and school staff and the officers to all go home the same way they came without any undue harm. This Zoom presentation will be made available for anyone who would like to know information about the Lake County School Board and its policies with the SRO officers on our campuses in Lake County. Originally, as I approached the Lake County School Board and the Sheriff Department, it was my desire to have a forum like this, but have it live where parents and Lake County citizens could have dialogue with the participants and ask questions and, if needed, counter questions for the forum participants. But it was denied, and I would like for Lieutenant Fred Jones to introduce himself and explain their reasoning for not having other participants asking questions. And then we will have everyone else introduce themselves, and we will begin answering the questions that we have presented to them. If I'm not mistaken, we have our Superintendent, Diane Cornegie. We have also from the Lake County School Board, Mark Palmer. And from the Sheriff's Department, we have Lieutenant Fred Jones, Sergeant Kelly Stone, and John Mabry. So I turn it over to Lieutenant Jones to introduce himself and address the question about why this is not done live.
As I mentioned earlier, my name is Lieutenant Fred Jones with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. My duties at the Lake County Sheriff's Office is one of the public information officers, as well as internal affairs supervisor, and I also do a lot of the human diversity training as well as other training. When we receive the questions that we went over, and these are questions that should be answered, and they will be answered, we thought this was a good foundation in order to have this recorded, in order for it to be a teaching tool. We also thought that from here, this is an opportunity for the public to reach out to their school resource deputies and have those one-on-one conversations, because we could have 100, maybe 1,000 questions, but I think the best way to get the information is to go to the source. So this right here is the foundation, and hopefully we can just go from here. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody else introduce themselves, please?
Yes, so good evening. I'm Diane Cornegie. I am the superintendent of Lake County Schools.
Thank
Hi,
you,
I'm
ma'am.
Joseph Mabry. I am the District Safety and Security Specialist.
Good evening, folks. My name is Mark Palmer, and I am the Security Manager for Lake County District Schools.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Kelly Stone, and I currently supervise the school resource unit in the South End.
Good evening. I am Molly Cunningham, and I am school board member representing District 4.
Okay, thank you for you all's introduction. Molly, I'm sorry I did not call your name. I did not know you were going to be there, but glad to have you here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the questions that's already been submitted, and I'll go back and forth. I'll give a couple, then I go back and forth. So to the sheriff's office and whoever wants to answer these questions. First question is, what are the duties of the SRO officer as understood by the sheriff department? And I'll just do two questions there where you can answer both. What are the requirements for a sheriff officer to become an SRO officer? And what is the average age?
Okay, so that's going to be me. Some of the duties for the SROs, there is a contract where it's outlined that we have come in connection with the school board and the Lake County Sheriff's Office, which is available to anybody at a public records request. But on top of the requirements that they put in the paper, the duties are to maintain a safe environment for all elements of the school. That's the student and the staff and everybody in a whole. They come to school early, they make sure the campus is safe and the well-being of everybody when a safe arrival and departure. And we take reports throughout the days from DCF, theft reports, they do everything. But first and foremost, maintaining those one-on-one relationships with the student body. It's imperative that the SROs become mentors to the students.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you say what the average age was?
The average age is approximately 35 years old. And the requirements, I forgot that part. So we have an SRO Basic, which is a 40-hour course that they take. We have CIT, which is a 40-hour block also. And we do the youth mental health first aid that has to be recertified every 2 years. And that is the requirements that are met also through the state of Florida.
And if I can just mention real quick, she mentioned CIT for those who are not familiar. That's the Crisis Intervention Training. That's a 40-hour course that we do in conjunction with live streams. And what it does is it teaches de-escalation techniques when you're dealing with people in crisis, as well as those who may be on the autism spectrum.
Okay, thank you all very much. Let me ask one for the school board. Please explain to us the mandate by the state for all Florida schools to always have a SRO officer on school campuses. And the second question would be, how can we get a copy of the policies that the Lake County School Board has with the Sheriff Department regarding the duties of SRO officers on Lake County school campuses?
So the requirement for schools to have safety officers is addressed in section 1006.12 of Florida statutes. And that requires that the school board and the superintendent partner together with the local sheriff to assign one or more safety officers at each school. It's further outlined in section 30.15 of Florida statutes that outlines the duties, the powers, and the obligations of these officers that are on the campus. Senate Bill 7026 and 7030 that has been given oversight from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission also addresses the requirement to have safety officers on each campus. Copies of the policy can be located on our district website because everything is in school board policy and that is governed by statute. They are all available for public view on the district website. The specific policy that addresses school resource deputies and school resource officers is School Board Policy 8407. The duties of each deputy and officer are identified in a contract that the Sheriff's Department and the municipalities have with the school board. and that is derived from Section 30.15 Florida statutes as well. And any of those documents are available upon public records requests.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me ask a couple more questions for the sheriff's office. What is the specific training that's required for SRO officers to continue being an SRO officer in relationship with dealing with kids and understanding minority students and children of color and their uniqueness?
So again, every 2 years, we recertify on our mental health first aid. We also, every summer, we host multiple summer camps where we engage with the children throughout Lake County. We host 2 of those, one south and one north, and there's approximately 60 kids at each of those summer camps. Then we also have a autism awareness class that's a 40-hour block that we all attend. And the FASRO conference itself, which is 40 hours, and that's a multitude of different breakout sessions that we can go to learn different things throughout the week. We go to them.
And another thing, I'm one of the trainers for human diversity. We have what's called and it's mandatory in order for them to maintain their certification. So the training that I do is called racial intelligence training and engagement. And it talks about just that specific thing about engaging with people from different backgrounds. And it's about the officer learning how to de-escalate their own emotions. So that is a required human diversity training that all the school resource deputies go through.
Okay, I want to ask this question. A lot of parents and citizens had a concern here. What are your policies for using force in dealing with breaking up fights or controlling a child? Or better said, what constitutes using a taser or things of that nature if there's an incident that happens?
Right. And with that 2-part question, I will say that the majority of any physical altercations on the campus are handled by the administration. When we do have to get involved with an altercation and go hands-on, then that happens periodically. Now, as far as the taser and when can we use a taser, what I would do is I will read it verbatim from our policy, and then we can talk about it a little more. It says the deputies who have successfully completed electronic control device training are authorized to use such devices to establish control over subjects who are resisting arrest or a danger to themselves or others. The electronic control device is an alternative to physical control techniques and the use of intermediate weapons. As with any other use of force, the electronic control device must not be used indiscriminately or without just cause. The use of the electronic control device is permitted under the following conditions. Subjects who can lawfully be arrested for resisting arrest by displaying a minimum of active resistance. B, whether necessary to immediately cease or prevent physical combat, violent acts against other persons or property, or self-inflicted injury. That right there is part of our policy with the electronic control device. But when we vet our school resource deputies to go into the school, this is something that we go over on a regular basis, and we do not have a history of using that. This right here is the last resort if that person is a danger to themselves or a danger to the deputy as far as self-defense under those grounds.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me ask another question to the school board. Can you give us the reason why the SRO officers are the ones stopping fights within our schools instead of the administrators as in times past? And I think I just heard you say in the majority of the situations, it is the administration that's doing it. But is that a Lake County School Board policy for all schools, or is that determined by the principal of each individual school?
I would say that each situation is unique and fluid, but like Lieutenant Jones addressed, a majority of the time school administrators do break up physical altercations. Law enforcement will intervene at such time that may be necessary. If there is a crime being committed, law enforcement may be obligated to take the lead in a situation of a physical altercation. But administration can and does intervene while also protecting their own safety and well-being, because that has to be considered in addition to the student safety. But even given that administration does intervene in physical altercations, law enforcement can get involved during or after the fact if a parent decides to pursue criminal charges as a result of that physical altercation.
Okay, and just to help me in clarifying in this question here that we asked, so, but is it the policy for the administration to do it and officers step in when they can? Or is it where each school determines who's gonna do it? Or is it for all officers to just do it if they're there? So we just need some clarification on when it is that officers do step in.
From a law enforcement point of view, okay, per Florida statute, we are peace officers. Okay, so if we see a physical altercation happening, we cannot by law stand by. One of my main concerns is having to explain to a parent why I had to stand by while their child was battered. So if there is an altercation happening in front of me as a law enforcement officer, by statute, I have to react to that.
Okay. With the school board, another question, does each school have a mental health representative on campus for kids who need their services? And follow up with that, what are their duties and what does a parent have to do to get help for a troubled kid?
So thanks to the voters of Lake County, the 0.75 tax millage that was approved about 2 years has helped us to vastly expand our mental health services and supports for all of our students. So the answer to the question is yes. We are very unique and very pleased that we are able to provide a mental health liaison on every single school campus. These are individuals who are certified mental health counselors, or they are mental health trained individuals who assist students in a variety of ways, as well as the faculty and staff. Some of the things that these individuals do is that they provide mental health first aid training. That is a 6-hour course that is required by the state of Florida for all of our employees. They also intervene in class and provide classroom supports using Tier 1 mental health wellness programs. There's a variety of programs and services, lessons that they actually engage in classrooms and small group settings and on one-on-one cases to help students. They also, in our high schools, help to support a program called You're Not Alone, which is a peer program where we have ambassadors in each of our high schools that assist their fellow students who might be experiencing some crisis, that they have a peer that they can go to talk about how they're feeling. They also provide 5 hours of mental health instruction for all of our students in grades 6 through 12. This is another requirement by the state of Florida. In addition to that mental health liaison, we also have a school nurse on every campus. That is also something that is unique here in Lake County. And we have a PASS teacher, and PASS stands for Positive Alternative to School Suspension. And these are individuals who also provide health, mental health supports, counseling, academic supports for students in all of our schools. We also have 4 district mental health specialists that provide additional supports. They also are that liaison or that conduit between the schools and our partnership with Livestream Behavioral Center, for which we have a contract that covers a licensed mental health coordinator, group counseling and training services for students, mental health counseling services above and beyond that of the existing school counselors, as well as psychiatric services if needed by a particular student. We're very pleased that we're able to provide all of these layers of support and additional mental health services for our students.
Okay, if I could just ask you, so what would a parent have to do to specifically say, hey, I feel my child needs help in this area?
So any parent who has a concern about their child should reach out to either the school's mental health liaison, their school administrator, or a school guidance counselor. All of those individuals can assist them to make sure that their child receives the services that they need.
Okay, thank you. Another couple of questions for the Sheriff's Department. Are accidents evaluated against academic environment criteria or the same criteria used for regular police incidents?
Which one is it?
Number 5.
Do I need to repeat that question?
Yes, please.
Yes. Are incidents evaluated against academic environment criteria or the same criteria used for regular police incidents?
So are you, let me clarify this, are you asking, do we look at their grades in order to make decisions when we get involved?
This is from a citizen in the community, so I really can't read exactly what they're trying to say. But as a matter of fact, the young lady who asked the question is here, and if you allow her, I think she can maybe explain it a little bit better, her question. May, do you want to comment?
I found it now.
My question is, we're in an academic environment, and if I understand what Sergeant Jones is saying, or Detective Jones is saying, that there is different criteria and different training for handling students in an academic environment. So if there's different training for handling students in an academic environment, then that training therefore must be different than for handling a individual in a normal law enforcement engagement. And that's my question. Is there some difference? Because just a few minutes ago, I heard someone say that if there is a physical altercation, that they must be involved. And my concern is, are the facts and factors and engagement criteria exactly the same for an academic environment as they are for any exterior environment?
So in the schools, they're trained to deal with juveniles. They're given extra education. We go to different trainings, so they're different than the ones that are on road patrol. A deputy responding to a juvenile incident on the road is not going to be held as the same as it would on a campus. They don't deal with juveniles all day long like the SROs do. So if there's a fight on the road, it's not handled the same as it would, because we are trained to try to de-escalate. On patrol, they're trained to de-escalate, but it's gonna take a lot longer for a road patrol deputy to get to an incident than it does for us on a campus, if that makes sense.
And also, part of the training that Sergeant Stone talked about, that the SRDs have to go through, it includes the childhood development, juvenile behavior, those kind of things. And so we establish relationships with administration at these schools. So the difference between out in an exterior environment and in a school, there's a collaboration that's happening, you know, as far as us dealing with the kids in that environment.
Okay, a couple more questions for the officers. Does the SRO training include real-life situations, and how recent is the training protocol? Now, I remember you said something about in the summer that you have activity with kids, but is that the same? Is that like real-life situations that you're dealing with
No,
in the training?
so every teacher workday that we have, the entire SRO unit trains together. We do different scenarios. We do defensive tactics, firearms, scenario-based situations. So we are better trained than most any other unit out there, because we get full 10-hour days to go out quarterly. Is it quarterly? That every teacher workday is quarterly, so we have extra. And we've already got 3 weeks out of the summer blocked out to where they cannot take vacation or anything. We are doing training weeks, first aid, firearms, DT, real life based scenario questions. And we do it with the cities and the sheriff's office. So everybody that's on a campus, we do a combined training. So even the officers with other agencies are training with us so that we're all on the same page. And that is something that we've been doing for the last, I would say, 3 years. We've stepped up our training for the SRO unit.
Okay, the last question for the officers, is the policy for discharging a taser addressed in the policy agreement? And I heard Lieutenant Jones read something. Was that from the agreement itself that you read?
That was from the Lake County Sheriff's Office policy manual.
Oh, okay, so is that the same as what your agreement that you have with the Lake County School Board?
As far as when it comes to our contract with the Lake County School Board, I don't know if this is better fit for you guys to answer, but as far as a use of force, okay, that is part of Florida statute, what allows us to use force. So it's not part of their policy.
Okay, so that's basically from the Sheriff's Department, that's your policy?
Correct.
Okay. A question for the school board. Is there any statistics on the arrests made in Lake County schools by color?
I think we have to defer to the sheriff's department for any information regarding arrests.
And as far as our arrests go, we do not track arrests. Arrests by juveniles are tracked by the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Okay, so if someone wants to get that information, where would they get it from?
They'll probably have to refer to the state agency itself, the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Okay. A couple more for the Sheriff's Department. How is each incident that occurs on a Lake County school campus decided on as to punishment and guilt or innocent with the incident that happens? How is that all determined about whether or not the child's innocent, guilty, and punishment?
It's just like any other criminal investigation that we would do out in the road. They do their investigations, they put everything together, and if they have enough criteria to meet probable cause, then they'll make the arrest on the probable cause, just like with everything else, whether it's on the road or on a school campus.
So we don't determine the innocent and guilt, and I'll tell you why I feel that it's so important. When you have an SRO on campus, and I'll give you just a quick example. Years ago, when I was a school resource deputy, I was called to the office by the administrator, and a concession stand which was left open. Some students had went in there, entered the concession stand, they drank Gatorade, they ate the food there. And so when I was called to the office, the administrator said, you know, a crime has been committed, and we talked about it. I said, yes, a felony, a burglary has been committed, you know, criminal mischief because they messed things up, as well as theft. Being that I was on that campus, I took that felony and I said to him, I said, look, this right here was a crime of opportunity, okay? So I had the discretion to work with the administrator there, and they didn't file charges, and I didn't pursue charges. So that's why having that school resource deputy, instead of an officer responding to there and saying this fits the criteria of Florida statute, it allows that school resource deputy on that campus to have more discretion.
Okay. How many African-American SRO personnel is there with the Lake County School Board as far as working from the Sheriff's Department?
What's the question?
From the sheriff's office, we currently have one, and Leesburg PD also has one.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Is there an effort to bring more diversity in SROs to meet the diversity in our schools in Lake County?
I would say day in and day out, so to speak. So this is how this works. It's very difficult, the vetting process itself. These men and women come out of the academy, and they apply at different agencies, okay? We ourselves as an agency, we go to the academy and we try to do our sales pitch to get them to come to our come to our agency. So I'll give you an example. So right now we have approximately, I would say 5 or 6 African Americans that are working on road patrol right now. To have them to do the sales pitch like we do to them and say, hey, school resource is the place to be. A lot of people who come to be law enforcement officers don't want to be school resource deputies. It's a hard sell because their image of what law enforcement is that road patrol deputy out there. We've gone to historically black colleges and we've done pitches there. We start in the middle schools with the Explorer program, which if you go through the Explorer program for the 4 years, from 14 to 18, you go through the academy, you get through that academy, we will hire you. So we're constantly making efforts to make our agency and our unit more diverse.
Okay, let me ask you one last question for the officers, and then we'll have some questions that are basically questions from parents. What constitutes to your department a reason for an SRO to be removed from working at the schools? I guess in other words, what type of incident does the officer have to do to be considered that this person's not good for this job?
Well, a lot of times this is going to be a determination between an administrator and maybe a supervisor. So if that officer is not a fit for that particular school, I give you an example. If an officer is not a good fit for a middle school, but he's been moved to a high school, not because of discipline, but he's just a better fit at that particular school. A administrator can make that determination as part of the contract that that officer is not a good fit for that school.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. So now this is open to whoever feels that it best fits them to answer this. So from parents, explain how officers determine my child has crossed the line in their actions that an officer can tase them. So parents are asking, okay, so the kids are in a fight, there's kids fighting. So what happens where that in a fight or whatever going on, that now my child has crossed the line where that child needs to be tased?
And it's not that simple as far as that question. Like I read from the policy itself, whenever necessary to immediately cease or prevent physical combat, violent acts against other persons or property, or self-inflicted injury. So that officer who's in that particular situation, he's evaluating that situation. As I mentioned earlier, historically, it's not something that happens.
Okay, another question that was asked is there a way that as citizens and parents, we can see the evidence that determines your decisions or incidents that happen on school campuses in Lake County that will help us to understand what is going on in our schools when it comes to our children? I guess this parent was saying, so if it's an incident, are the parents called in and presented all the evidence of what actually happened? Because sometimes you see stuff on, you know, the camera or the social media or whatever, or the phone, and it's not showing the whole thing. So is it where parents are able to see all the evidence that you all see before decisions are made through the administration or through the sheriff's department?
Yes. You know, each situation is handled differently depending on the circumstance and the infraction that's taking place. And a full investigation is conducted before there are any discipline measures that are enforced through our student code of conduct. So we do look at all the pieces. I know at times information that may get out are, you know, might just be little clips of video, probably from students, but we take a deeper dive into each situation to determine an appropriate course of action. And this information, discipline information, is available in general regarding a district and a school through the Florida Department of Education. That information regarding statistics can be located there. But yes, parents are involved in individual situations with their child, and administration can talk specifically to their own child regarding their involvement in a matter.
Okay. Next question is, and I know you all have explained yourself on this area, but I had several people ask me this question here. Why can't the administration break up fights as they did in times past before there was a SRO on campus? If it worked back then, why can't it work now? And then the kids are not subject to the police stepping in and the possibility of some type of force being done on the children.
Majority of the times, the administration is breaking up the fights and handling it. Again, if we're in the common area, we have a duty to respond and a duty to act. Just because we get involved, help separating kids, doesn't mean that they're getting a criminal attachment to them. We will take them to the principal's office. We will hand them over. It is the parents that make the decision for us to be involved. There's very few cases, if it's complete chaos and the children will not stop fighting for law enforcement, for administration, for teachers, then we do have the right to charge with a fray. But again, we aren't out there looking to charge these kids and get charges placed on them. We step back and let the parents make the decision on behalf of their children. We can't give you the discipline of another child, nor can the school. So behind the scenes where a parent feels as though, well, I don't know what the discipline is, I want to know what he got. We are not obligated to discuss another child's punishment with the other parent, if that makes sense. If a parent wants to prosecute, then that's theirs, and then we go one step further with what we need to do. And we do have different options, and we do take everything as the totality into the whole situation.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Were parents involved in the development of the SRO or school policy?
I can speak to that. So the policy, I referenced it earlier, is School Board Policy 8407. All school board policies have multiple public readings during advertised board meetings because they are open for public comment. And we do solicit and encourage public input before a school board policy is officially implemented into our school board.
Okay, so now when you were saying that it's posted, so what venues do parents need to look at to make sure that when something like that's coming up, where do they look for that information from? Could you say that again, please?
Sure. All information regarding school board meetings is located on our district website. There is a specific tab indicating school board, and that's where anyone can find information regarding school board policies, school board meetings, how to access the meetings either through live stream or here in person, and all the protocol behind the public speaking part of that.
Okay. And how often does the school board review the SRO policy?
So all of our policies are reviewed pretty much annually, as most of our policies are dictated by Florida state statute. We actually have a contract with a company called Neola. And Neola, their job is to look at any changes to legislation that would then precipitate us having to revise a policy. So they send us any policy that needs to be reviewed based on those changes, or any changes that the school board chooses to make to a particular policy. We advertise those for a public meeting. They're followed by public hearings. We workshop all of those. And so really the answer to the question is annually as legislation changes, or there is a need to review the policy based on any circumstance.
Okay. Now, was the policy reviewed since the last incident that we had with the Taser? I know you said annually, But when you have an incident like that, does that cause you to look at it, or you'll wait to the annual time before you do it?
If you don't mind, I can speak to that. With the policy, with the use of force, that's going to fall on the Lake County Sheriff's Office, and any use of force from the supervisor over the unit all the way up to the sheriff, that incident is reviewed. And so anytime we have a use of force, be it on a school or be it on a roll, there's a use of force policy that we go through, and we make sure either that person violated policy or they were within policy.
Okay, and so the last question that I have, in that last incident, we're certainly not here to try that or to speak yay or nay on that, but in that last incident that happened, were the male students disciplined for their actions in the altercations? Because there apparently was a young lady fighting, but she was also fighting a male. So was the male disciplined as well?
I can speak to that one. As Sergeant Stone referenced earlier, we are not at liberty to discuss yes or no regarding student discipline specifically, unless it is with the parent or guardian of that student. But what I will say is that all students are bound by our student code of conduct, and administration follows that as well regarding student discipline for each infraction that occurs on campus.
Okay, I like to say, as a pastor in a community that I love and a county that I love, it is my desire that we all, when I'm looking at parents and students and community, as well as sheriff department and school board, that we all be our very best. And I'm in support of all those groups. And so we approach you all because we want for the parents and students to be able to hear information that would be helpful to them, and also giving you all a chance to speak, about your policies and why you do what you do. I do believe that there are citizens that certainly are willing and certainly can have adult conversations with you all live. So this is a good stepping stone, but I think it would be even better if at some point we can do live things with the community, because there are people who just want to know about their kids, and not everybody's going to be, all upset and fighting and stuff. So I appreciate you all doing this. And right now, I would say I'll give each one of you some closing comments, and I'll be done. We can start with Lieutenant Jones, and then whoever else wants to say anything in closing. Once again, I certainly thank y'all for the opportunity. And you do need to let the people know where this video is going to be at, how they can do it, how they can ask people questions if there's questions they got now, how they can make those one-on-one contacts. And I just thank you all for this opportunity.
First of all, Pastor Watkins, I want to thank you for coming to us and with your concerns, and more than happy to meet with you, so thank you for that. I want to say that I'm proud of our school board and our Lake County Sheriff's Office. We've had a very long relationship with the Lake County School Board. One of the things I like to say, and I didn't get a chance to mention earlier, is that we, like the superintendent talked about, we have an outside agency, the accreditation agency. And what that accreditation agency does is it makes sure that we have the industry standard best practices. And so our policy itself was scrutinized as well, so they do live up to industry standards. With that said, I encourage parents and grandparents, know who your school resource deputies are that are at your schools. Talk to them. When I was a school resource deputy, I had parents come in, they would bring their child in to me, and they would introduce their child to me, and this is my son. And if you have any problems, you give me a call. I appreciated those things. That one-on-one conversation, I think will help you understand what their job is even further, and help you have a greater appreciation for what their job is at the school. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Pastor Watkins and Mrs. Hazelton, first of all, I'd like to thank the two of you for being willing to engage in this conversation with us. I can tell you, based on personal experience, I have 20-plus years of administrative experience in Lake County prior to my becoming a school board member. So I had an opportunity to work alongside Mr. Jones and many other very fine SROs. I can tell you in various cities throughout Lake County where I worked, I saw some wonderful relationships, not just between students and SROs, but student, parent, guardians, and SROs. And while I appreciate your position, and I think it's a wonderful thing for you to understand and for parents to understand, I would also vow to you that it is the responsibility, and we take it very seriously, from the superintendent to the sheriff's department and everyone who works in the schools, to make sure that students are treated equitably and fairly as they should be. It is not our desire at any level to ever have a student mistreated. It is not our desire in any area to ever have a student that is harmed in any way, because like you, sir, we want them to come home the same way they come. With that being said, I agree with you. This is a great starting point, and I hope moving forward we can engage in conversations and face-to-face discussions about the things that go on in the schools, because the schools exist for the parents and the children and the other community people, and they have a right to be a part of the decision-making process, and we certainly welcome that opportunity. So thank you both for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
And I think I will end our time together this evening. First, thank you, Pastor Watkins, for your leadership and for your concern for our children. I want to just kind of echo what Lieutenant Jones mentioned, as he's encouraging parents with concerns to reach out and develop that relationship with their SRO. Any parents who have concerns about their child, please don't hesitate to reach out to their teacher, our school administrators, our mental health liaisons, our school counselors. All these individuals are there to assist families and to assist our students. And so please don't ever hesitate. We don't have to wait for a public forum for those questions to be answered. We are ready and prepared to answer any questions at any time to help parents and students. So again, I want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to continuing our relationship and partnership as a community.
Okay, thank you. Remarks.
Good.
I'm good.
Okay, if not, we certainly thank you all for your time, and thank you for sharing with us and answering the questions, and we appreciate it. God bless you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. You too.